Immigration and migration trends in the United States, 19th-20th century. Immigration and migration have shaped the United States more than almost any other force. During the 19th and 20th centuries, the country transformed from a relatively young republic into an industrial and global power, largely because of the movement of millions of people across its borders and within its own territories. These movements carried both opportunities and tensions, leaving a lasting impact on American society, economy, and culture. In the early 19th century, most immigrants came from Northern and Western Europe. The Irish, escaping famine in the 1840s, arrived in huge numbers, followed by Germans seeking political freedom and economic stability. These groups settled in growing cities like New York, Boston, and Chicago, where they became part of the industrial workforce. While they provided vital labor, they also faced deep hostility, discrimination, and anti-immigrant movements such as the Know-Nothings, who feared that Catholic immigrants threatened Protestant cultural dominance. By the late 19th century, immigration patterns shifted dramatically. Southern and Eastern Europeans, Italians, Poles, Russians, and many Jewish refugees arrived in massive numbers. Between 1880 and 1920, over 20 million immigrants entered the United States, passing through Ellis Island and other ports. They supplied cheap labor for booming industries, building railroads, working in steel mills, and fueling urban expansion. Yet, they also encountered suspicion. The rise of nativism led to calls for restrictions, culminating in the Immigration Act of 1924, which placed quotas on Southern and Eastern Europeans and virtually banned immigrants from Asia. Asian migration was another important trend, though it was met with harsh exclusion. Chinese laborers had been critical to building the Transcontinental Railroad, but growing prejudice led to the Chinese Exclusion Act of 1882, the first law in U.S. history to bar immigration based on nationality. Japanese and Filipino migrants followed, often working in agriculture on the West Coast, but they too were limited by restrictive laws and racial segregation. Migration within the United States was equally transformative. The Great Migration saw over 6 million African Americans move from the rural South to northern and western cities between 1915 and 1970, seeking escape from Jim Crow segregation and hoping for industrial jobs. Black families transformed cities like Chicago, Detroit, and New York. They fueled cultural movements such as the Harlem Renaissance and reshaped American politics, but also faced urban segregation and racial tensions in their new homes. Similarly, Mexican and Latin American migration grew during the 20th century, particularly with the Bracero Program, 1942 to 1964, which brought Mexican laborers to work in U.S. agriculture during World War II. These workers became essential to farming economies, and their communities expanded significantly, especially in the Southwest. By the late 20th century, immigration had become one of the most debated topics in American politics. Waves of newcomers from Asia, Latin America, and the Caribbean transformed the demographic makeup of the United States, making it more diverse than ever before. In conclusion, the immigration and migration trends of the 19th and 20th centuries built modern America. They supplied labor, enriched culture, and reshaped cities, but they also exposed tensions around race, identity, and belonging. the United States' identity as a nation of immigrants remains both its greatest strength and its most contested challenge.